but I'm gonna pose this one question, real quick. Um, if the Giants make the playoffs, like I said, and I think they do, and people might say, "Oh man, NYG are talking playoffs so quickly," because, like I said, there ain't nobody on the schedule that can really stop Wink Martindale's defense. The Giants are gonna lose some games. We get it, man, but you know, if they go 11-6, like Lou say, or even 10-7, 9-8, I think they get into the playoffs, and I think that's somewhere where they'll end up. Um, so because of the quarterbacks that they play, but say they make the playoffs, now people are going to disagree with this per se. But this is Unpopular Opinion Sports. Y'all hit that like button. Appreciate everybody joining in, rocking with me and my homie Jeffy. So if they make the playoffs, right, do the Giants re-sign Daniel Jones? And I'm gonna tell you a reason that they might do that. Because if you make the playoffs, right, you buy your you ease the fan base. There's still gonna be these fans, but you ease the fan base because you got a competitive team now. And
Mm-hmm.
number two, you're not gonna have a high draft pick. You're not. You're gonna be picking probably in the 20s. Number three, these quarterbacks are in college are starting to regress. A lot of these names that people were throwing out there earlier are starting to regress. So you're not going to have that really to get a CJ Stroud, or if you want uh Levis or Van Dyke or whoever, you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to have the opportunity to get one of those quarterbacks because there's only probably going to be like one or two in the draft, and they're going to go to Seattle and probably Houston. Everybody should be
That's a
quiet.
great question you posed, though. Like that is a really good question. I, I
Mm-hmm.
I have to think about that one because I think a lot with Daniel Jones is going to tie in for what happens with Saquon Barkley. I really do, because say the Giants make the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
Barkley goes off and he has a great season, which all of us are thinking he's going to do, and right now he is doing. Daniel Jones plays okay to good, but the Giants become a playoff team. What do you do with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley? Because you have a decision on him too, which is as important.
Yeah.
Do the Giants have to come down to picking one or the other, or do they possibly try to sign one and franchise the other one? And in that case, if you're going to do that, who would you franchise and who would you sign long term? I know a lot of people will probably say sign Barkley and franchise Daniel Jones and make him go out there and prove it again next year, depending on how he. I think a lot of it, honestly, NYG is going to depend on how Daniel Jones performs if the Giants make the playoffs. If the Giants make the playoffs, but Daniel Jones is okay, I still think there's a possibility they decide to move on for him because they'll be looking at it and be like, you know what? We were a playoff team this year, but the quarterback was one of the reasons why we couldn't progress to even more or go further in the playoffs than we were hoping for. If
But
Daniel
who
Jones
you
performs
replacing them with,
well,
though? You know what I'm saying? That's the question. If you're going to replace them, look, man, I'm not on the sign Daniel Jones bandwagon here. I'm just
no.
posing an unpopular opinion that I think the Giants might do, and it's going to be unpopular amongst the fan base. But I think they might reconsider re-signing Daniel Jones if they make the playoffs, and I think there's a good chance that they do make the playoffs if this defense keeps falling and this offense um, starts to get its legs together as the season goes along. Um, now, I named out the reasons I said that, but you got to understand if you're going to replace him, you need another option. So, is there somebody you can trade for? I don't know.
There always are going to be options after the season. There's
Or,
always quarterbacks
or
that shake loose.
what quarterback though? Because I don't want Jimmy G anywhere near my
Well, I
team
mean, there's been
or anybody
questions
like
out there
that.
that
There's
there's
got to be a
people that think that
superstar.
Lamar Jackson might be a link to the Giants if he doesn't get a contract with the Ravens. There have been those discussions out there about
Yeah,
Lamar Jackson
that
possibly
was
being linked to
floated
the
out there.
Giants.
That was floated out there.
So that is a possibility. And the problem is we don't really know how Joe Shane, Brandon Brown, and that front office and these coaches really feel about those college quarterbacks. Sure, they might not be good right now. They might be regressing. But just because we see them not playing great on the field doesn't mean that the GM, the assistant GM, and the coaches don't believe that some of these guys in college still have the skill sets, and if you develop them correctly, could become good quarterbacks in the NFL. Because we all know there's some quarterbacks that maybe aren't the greatest things in college, but when they come to the NFL, they're somehow put it together. If you put them in the right scheme, in the right team, they're coached correctly, they can somehow get the most out of their talent. So that's the biggest question right now is we really don't know what this coaching staff and front office feel about these college quarterbacks. And in the same way, we don't know how these guys feel about Daniel Jones. We don't know how they really think about Daniel Jones because I think, honestly, if the team makes the playoffs, Daniel Jones is more likely going to be brought back on a franchise tag than be signed. I
That's
don't
what I,
think they're going to.
that's what I think.
I
Too.
don't think they're going to feel comfortable enough to give him that big
Right.
money and sign him long term because they're going to
I
want him
should
to
have
go out there and prove
clarified that.
himself
That's
another
that's what
year.
I meant, Jeffy.
Yeah,
Like signing him, not yeah. I should have clarified that, but
it's
I
Barkley.
I
Barkley's the
I
question.
think they signed Barkley. Nah, I
Yeah,
think they
that's the
signed Barkley.
thing. Are they going to sign Barkley long
Yeah,
term? Because that's the question. And as you think about it,
you
are they
got
going
to
to bring
sign him.
back Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones? Is this a package deal? We talked about it possibly being a package deal that maybe if you bring back one, you got to bring back the other. So that's the question about it is if
Hmm.
at the end of the season, are you going to bring back just Barkley and let Daniel Jones go? Are you going to bring back Daniel Jones and let Barkley go? Are you going to let both of them go? Or are you going to bring back both of them? That's the biggest question right now is what are you going to do about Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones? Because I really believe the Daniel Jones decision is going to be coupled with what they do with Saquon Barkley because you have two of the biggest players on this team, two of the guys that are pretty much the biggest part of this franchise going forward on what decision you're going to make and if you're going to decide to bring back one or both of them. So I think they're going to be tied together on what's going to happen with Daniel Jones is going to have a lot to do with what's going to happen with Saquon Barkley. And I believe it's going to be depending on if this team makes the playoffs, and it's going to be depending on performance, and also in terms of Daniel Jones and the quarterbacks in college. It's all going to depend on what this front office and the coaching staff thinks about these college quarterbacks, and if they think that these guys can be developed in that scheme with Mike Kafka and Brian Dable, that they're schemed enough and they're developed enough and they put them in the right system that they can get the most out of them going forward. So we really don't know. It's a guessing game right now.
I think Anthony Richardson from Florida, Blue City, needs another year in college.
I agree.
After this year, he needs another one because he's just too raw.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not gonna take a quarterback like that and think he's gonna be able to sit for an entire season, which is what this kid needs. Um, so I don't think that there could be a quarterback, like you said, to shake loose, but I think if you make the playoffs and you make a change at quarterback and your team regresses, that's a bad look on the GM, the coach, um, the ownership. Because if you get rid of guys that perform for you and you come out there with a new quarterback, a rookie quarterback, or somebody like that, and your team regresses and misses the playoffs, see, if you regress with the same guys, you can say, hey, it was those guys. Let's move on from them next season. You see what I'm saying? But if you regress with new guys, they're going to say, oh, y'all brought these new guys in and they trash.
Mm-hmm.
The team is trash. So you got to understand it like that. So if you bring new guys in and your team sucks, then basically you look bad. That's a bad look for you, Joe Shane, Brian Dable, John Mara.
I agree.
So I think these guys are smart and they're going to play it smart. I think if they do have a chance to upgrade and it's a safe bet, they'll do it. You know what I'm saying? Like if they could get a Lamar Jackson, which I don't believe they can, if they could though, then that's probably a safe bet at quarterback.